I'm Daniel.
So, how you doing, Daniel?
I had been very positive and doing pretty well. I feel like I'm still doing not bad, but this week is when I finally kind of hit the wall where I'm just like, I'm over it.
So, it's been more than a month now.
Has it? I've lost track.
It's April the 15th, so it's been
Oh.
more than a month since I left work.
Really? I guess it has been for me too.
I left March the 13th.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, so that is really the opposite for us now. I mean, we're still having fun a little bit. We're watching like shows that we've meant to watch for a long time,
Yeah.
and we're finding creative ways of getting out and doing things and like having fun around the house, but still, it's like purgatory, man. Like time doesn't exist anymore. There's no rules.
When I left work, I was like working so hard I was like teleworking, obviously. I was working so hard every day, and I was washing my hands every 5 seconds, you know, and just doing every single possible thing.
Oh, I'm over that. Yeah, when we first started this in the first week or so, I was like washing my hands every hour, but now it's like really only like when I go out to pick up food or if I've brought in the mail or taken out the garbage, that's about it. Other than that, everything has been cleansed in our house, so I don't feel like I have to worry about it. I'm even touching my face and not feeling bad about it, you know?
You know, I still can't find paper towels anywhere, so we have actually cut up towels to use as paper towels, like towels.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I made a whole, like, rags thing. I've got this whole system at the house.
What is that meme with Bear Grylls where, like, you adapt or whatever?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I feel like we've all gotten to that point. Like, I feel like we're okay with being in the swing of like doing this whole stay-at-home thing and figuring out ways to keep ourselves engaged and entertained, but like I do not want this to go on that much longer. I know that we've still got a long ways to go. Some of the models that I've been reading that show the numbers with all this show that we're maybe a little past the halfway point of like the curve. Everybody knows what that is at this point. But even beyond that, we're still going to have to hunker down to make sure that it stays down for a little while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many things I wanted to get done, but my energy levels have just not been. And I guess that's because we've been staying at home every day. I just have not had a lot of energy, and I don't know if that's made a post in one of my groups that I'm in on Facebook, and a lot of people are feeling the same way. Just feeling the sleepiness and the tiredness every day, and just saying that, people are sleeping 10, 12 hours a day.
You have been doing that.
Yeah.
I've had to wake you up at noon.
Well, I mean, I'm not doing it on purpose, I promise, but my body is just sleeping so much nowadays. Yeah.
I understand. Like, I'm still teleworking and working from home, and I definitely feel that when I'm back there in my, like, dude room / office room. Once it gets to, like, 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm just out. I can, like, barely think. The thing that has been helping me a lot is when I wrap up my work for the day, I'll go running. I've been trying to get in like 2 or 3 miles if the weather cooperates. Shout out to Celia and Lindsay with Roo Fitness for kind of keeping me on track because I see them on the Instagram and their Facebook group. And that has kind of kept me level-headed and has given me some energy. So I would suggest that. I don't know if you want to run with me.
Well, I think one thing that's contributing to me being tired all the time is the weather because it keeps changing back and forth.
Yeah, it was hot last week. Now it's cold this week.
It'll be 80 degrees. Well, here in Alabama, it'll be 80 degrees one day, and the next day it'll be 50 and raining. And it's just, ugh.
Yeah, I'm kind of over that too.
And I'm so over that.
Yeah, if you're from the South, maybe you've heard of, what is it, dogwood winter and blackberry winter. I think we have gone through almost all of the various winters at this point. Hopefully it'll warm up for good. I mean, it's middle of April now. It's about that time. We'll probably get another cold snap or two, but yeah, it's about time to warm up for good.
If it would just be like a good 75 every day, I'd be fine.
Hey everyone, it's Daniel, just popping in from the future. Seriously though, we recorded this a few weeks ago, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that some of our comments here about festivals and what's possible this fall may be a little out of date, but you know what? It's a time capsule, so I decided to keep it in. Here we go. All right, so we've been talking about lockdown stuff. Let's get to the elephant in the room and talk about some of the festivals that are now just saying that they're going to cancel altogether for 2020. Yeah. The day that we're recording this, it came out that Hangout down in Gulf Shores is just calling it quits, and they're going to punt it till 2021. For them,
didn't that come out like last week?
Well, a week or two ago, they said they were going to move their date, and it was today or yesterday, I can't recall, that they said that they're just going to punt until next year entirely, which I think, now I don't know this. I don't know this as well as, Brad Steiner from the What podcast, because he works in radio and literally knows everybody, because he was talking to one of the Radiohead guys last week, apparently. He's more... Oh, go ahead.
Say, if you're listening to us, just turn this off right now and go listen to the What podcast. That's what we always say.
They did a good episode this past week where they talked about this.
Just turn us off. Go listen to the What podcast.
Brad has said that he felt as if Hangout could reschedule for any point in the summer because it's a beach festival and people expect it to be hot and for the weather to be uncomfortable because of that. But I kind of think, and I would love for him to correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of feel like Hangout would have had a really hard time rescheduling their artists. They sold out really quickly this year because they had a very good lineup for that demographic. I mean, they go after a younger demographic than for Bonnaroo. So they had like Billie Eilish, Post Malone, and a lot of other artists that would appeal to that age group. I don't feel like they would have been able to rebook a lot of that lineup for some point in the summer because a lot of those type of artists are probably going to be apprehensive about still getting out to a large crowd in July, So I feel like that may have contributed to it. I don't know. I'm just kind of, guessing. But I don't think decision really impacts September that much from my perspective. Now, I'm just a fan like anybody else. I don't have any inside information on this. Let me clarify this. But as a fan, I feel like there is still a reasonable chance of September happening because it's going to be, September, like the third weekend? I can't recall exactly. The 23rd, I believe. That is going to be time for this to potentially blow over enough. I do think that if we end up going, there will be some safety protocols that are going to be implemented. Like they're going to probably require that we wear our bandanas over our faces or something like that. Maybe there will be temperature checks at the gate or something like that.
See, I don't know, because I have no idea how they would enforce anything like that.
Well, that's going to have to happen for any type of larger event this year, I feel like. Dr. Fauci, who is probably the smartest guy in the country right now, this kind of thing, has been saying this. He was interviewed on something earlier this week, and somebody asked him, could these kind of things happen this year? Could you go on a summer vacation? He said, yeah, you could do that as long as you were careful. They asked him, could Major League Baseball games happen? I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
He said, yeah, that can probably happen if you don't allow much of a crowd in at all. Now, obviously, at Bonnaroo, you've got, bare minimum, 50,000 people that would be there in September, right? So theoretically, maybe you would space out the campsites a little bit more. Maybe you would put in some gates to ensure that people were distanced some more.
I guess it really just depends on how it's done.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
I personally think, as a non-expert on this, that it is possible. I think if they communicate the safety protocols that they want everyone to take part of well enough and in advance enough, then yeah, we could do it. It would take everybody being a part of this and agreeing to be part of these safety protocols. But if that were to happen, then I personally don't see a reason that it couldn't happen. Again, this is just my own thoughts. I'm not an expert on this. I have no inside information whatsoever. But what do you think?
I think that it would be very difficult for a festival or really any large gathering to monitor safety protocols. So I do think it depends on just how they do it, how they're planning on doing it, the logistics of safety protocols.
It's going to be happening fairly soon. In California, they are talking about opening a lot of things back up. In some other countries, they're already laying the groundwork for this.
Right.
I mean, everybody is figuring this out as we're going to go. Realistically, the vaccine for this whole mess isn't going to be available for some time. And I personally feel like it's not really feasible for everything to be shut down for that long. So yeah, we've got to figure out a way to, fight it in that way. So it's going to take everybody buying into doing the face mask thing, to being okay with having your temperature checked, to being okay with doing another 2 weeks in the house if you happen to come in contact with somebody that tests positive.
Well, we're already seeing photos coming out of China of them going back to shopping, going back to work, etc. Now, China has a completely different type of government, so it's a totally different situation. So I'm not, trying to compare, anything.
Well, on that thought, so just the other day, we talked to our good friend Ashu, who came to Bonnaroo with us last year.
Right.
She's doing very well, by the way. We talked to her for a good solid almost an hour, and she was in very good spirits. And We talked to her and her fiance, and they're doing great. She was telling us about how in Korea they are doing very well with this. Now, I've read how they're doing the contact tracing. That's kind of a tongue twister. And they are a democratic society. Right. I mean, in a different way than we are here in the United States. But they are a very good template of how you could do this. And they're getting back to sports games and shopping and things like this. But they have to buy into, meeting the situation halfway with those safety protocols that we talked about. So I feel like if these other countries and potentially some states are buying into that stuff in the next couple of months, then we could all be okay with that and know what needs to be done by September. Again, just kind of, looking ahead from my own perspective. I'm not an expert.
Right. Now, keep in mind, as we talk about this, these are our own personal opinions.
Oh, yeah.
This is not the opinion of anyone but Daniel and Sharla.
Exactly.
And I can't personally see the whole country, the whole economy being shut down for the next 18 months.
There's no way.
I can't see that happening. I've seen some articles going around where it's saying no concerts for 2 years, no travel for 2 years.
Yeah, and I'm just no.
I can't see that. I can't see the entire, U.S. economy being shut down for that long. I just can't see that happening.
No, it's not realistic.
But
I don't.
Then again, when we said we were going to shut the economy down for 2 weeks, I laughed at that. So yeah.
Well, I don't know. There is a lot that goes into this. There are a lot of factors in this that are above our pay grade. Right. We're just approaching this from the perspective of two people that would really love to go to a music festival this fall.
Right, exactly. And so, that being said, I really hope September Roo happens. But if it doesn't, I don't think Bonnaroo is gonna fold over this.
Oh no, absolutely not.
And we're gonna get back on the farm, either way, whether it be in the fall, whether it be in September, or whether it be 2021.
Yeah,
we're gonna get back on the farm either way.
Now, let me ask you one question, and this is something I want just your personal opinion on. If you were to hear that September Roo is happening, but you need to wear a face mask, you need to keep your distance, all these, the whole 9 yards. Would you be okay with that?
I'd be fine with that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, me too. I feel like a lot of people would.
Yeah. They're totally fine with that.
The weird thing...
I just don't know how they would enforce it. What if they're like, September Roo is going to happen, but please keep your distance. You have to maintain 6 feet apart at all times.
No high five Friday.
No high five Friday.
Yeah. Air high five Friday, I guess. I think most people would be okay with that because it would be happening. And I feel like a lot of things are going to happen between now and then where people will kind of learn the drill with that. You can't shake hands, you can't high five, you can't get close. If you do all these things, then you can get out of the house and do stuff. I feel like people will adapt to that pretty quickly.
I would hope that by this point in life, in the world, people would be smart enough to understand that.
Yeah, I think so. And there will be a lot of things that will happen before Bonnaroo and other festivals that have rescheduled for the fall.
Truthfully, I only know a few people that are still going out and not taking this seriously.
Yeah, not that many.
In life. And I know a lot of people.
So I will fess up. I have been going out to do something the past 2 Saturdays. We've been meeting 2 friends at a baseball field just to throw a ball around and bat a little bit. It's other people that also have been sequestered, and we take very good care to not get super close, and we wash our hands. We're throwing the same ball around, so we're careful not to touch our face and stuff while we're playing baseball.
I've been sitting at the house.
Yeah, that is the most I have done in the past month. That is the only time I have seen just 2 of my friends and doing that kind of thing. And I personally feel like that's all right. I see a lot of people playing tennis and stuff like that. Maybe that's a little overboard, but people are starting to figure out what is the safe middle ground, right? The curve has flattened at this point. 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were recording an episode and we were talking about this kind of thing, it was on its way up. It has flattened in most states, and it's about to start going down based on the models that I've been seeing. So we're about to get to the point where it's not necessarily about okay, staying inside. Now it's how do we get back to the things that we need to do and the things that we want to do? And nobody has the answers for that. there's not going to be a right answer that is 100% right. But we're going to have to do a little bit of trial and error and figure that out. How do you feel?
Well, I feel that I'm still sitting at home until I am told otherwise.
Yeah, and I mean, 95% I am. That 5% is just like when I go out to pick up food or when we're doing that Saturday baseball thing.
But, I mean, I'm furloughed, and, I'm not going to lie, it's been a nice mental break.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has.
Yeah, and I have enjoyed this for the same reasons that a lot of other people have. Like catching up on TV shows and video games and us playing a lot of board games and card games and stuff. It's a good way to reboot mentally. And I'm a little jealous that you've been able to do it more so because I've been stuck in my office room working 9 to 5, just from home.
Hey, but at least you have a job, a job.
I know. I'm thankful for that very much so. So speaking of fun stuff like that and getting out of the house a little bit, me and you got some cool news just the other day. I haven't really told this story, but right before the corona wave hit, we had taken the Roo Bus to get some maintenance work done on it and some upgrades because, as you have heard from a lot of places, it went very slowly last year. That is not the case anymore because she ran 65 miles an hour the other day based on what the mechanic told me. So we're going to go pick that up Friday, and I am so thankful because now we've got it to play around in, and maybe we can even get out of the house and drive it around a little bit too.
Hopefully. So a lot of people probably wondered why you never saw the bus much in any of our live streams.
The past 2 months, probably.
Yeah, anything like that. You notice we never showed the bus. We never went live in the bus.
Oh, we'll be doing that now.
The bus was always mysteriously absent.
Oh, it was fine. So, there were some stories that I've told people personally about this, but, last year, yeah, it ran, but topped out about 35 miles an hour.
Topped out at 7 miles an hour.
No. I'm telling the truth. You're exaggerating.
No, I'm not.
And, yeah, we ran through a lot of trouble, and I never really could figure out quite what the deal was. But now we've got it figured out. Wasn't that big of a deal.
Tell them about getting towed to Bonnaroo.
Oh, gosh. That's a story. I could go through a whole story on that. I'll tell the quick version of it. So we're very good friends with the French family in Manchester, Tennessee. Both Ryan and Rebecca are very good friends, and if you are involved in Manchester or kind of in the inside baseball of Bonnaroo, you might know them. They have done so much for Bonnaroo, and they are just the coolest people ever. Anyway, Ryan and one of his family members heard that we were, having a real hard time, and it was topping out at 35. And he was like, "Well, hey, dude, so and so's got a big diesel truck, and we've got a big ass chain. Can we just come pull it?" And I'm thinking, well, sure, but can you? It's a school bus. And by God, they did. We broke 2 or 3 chains, but we pulled it from near Tullahoma to Manchester that night. And that was a wild night. I will never forget that night.
It normally takes us about an hour to get to Manchester from Huntsville. It took us 7 hours.
Yeah, that was a wild day. It was kind of worth it at the end because we got to hang out with Ryan and Rebecca and their kids, and we got to have kind of a sneak peek at the farm, about 5 or 6 days before Bonnaroo actually started. We got to see all the crazy lights that they had that year. That was fun. From Bushy Branch Road. We didn't go on the grounds.
Yeah, you ran over Ryan's mailbox.
Yeah, I knocked over their mailbox with the Roo Bus. But Rebecca told me just the other day, she loves that. There's a little small indentation right in front of the mailbox, and she loves it because it tells a story. And they are just the most positive people, and I love them to death.
Oh, they're the most amazing people. I want to be them when I grow up.
I know, right?
For real.
Speaking of Skoolies, you have some stuff that you want to talk about. So we're going to take kind of a detour on this episode, and we're going to talk about Skoolies. You've got a whole list here, right?
So we were going to do this as a bonus episode. So an episode, what a bonus episode of a podcast is.
I talked her out of it.
Yeah, but since we got a billion years before Bonnaroo.
That's not accurate.
We got a few extra months before Bonnaroo. We decided to just do it as its own episode. Because we do have some followers that follow us just for Skoolie stuff.
Yeah.
A Skoolie is a converted school bus RV. So we decided to just do an episode all about Skoolies. And we've had a few people ask us, about the bus and about how we came to own the bus and what the bus is and how do I own a bus, etc. and so forth.
Well, take it away. I'm giving you the reins.
Okay. So you ready to hear all about Skoolies?
I know a lot about Skoolies, but yeah, go ahead.
So one time we were watching the news, and the reporter said, "Not many people know the preparation work behind the school bus." And Daniel said, "I know all about it."
Yeah. It's like getting a plane ready to fly, man.
So tell you a little bit about the bus, and then I'll tell you some things about how you can own your very own Skoolie, how you can take it to Bonnaroo, and all things RVing, etc. and so forth.
I can also tell you what not to do.
Yeah. Like don't ramp it up a hill.
So go for it, Sharla. What you got?
Okay. So we first got the Roo Bus, the real Roo Bus. The way we came into schooling, in 2017, we went to Bonnaroo in a Class C RV. Now,
I kind of miss it.
There's different types of RVs. There is a Class A RV.
That's the giant one, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty common RV. It's a giant RV. Those are like Winnebagos, Allegros, things like that. It's a drivable RV.
What's the one out of Red Bay that your dad works on?
Tiffin
Motorhomes. Yeah,
they're very like Allegros.
Yeah.
My dad builds the windows for those. So does my brother.
Yeah. Or he used to. He's retired now.
Yeah. And then there's a Class C. A Class C is it's like a van on the front, and then the back is an RV.
Not very big.
Yeah, not very big. A Class B is a van that's converted into an RV.
Those are the kind that you can rent on like a lot of these travel excursion places, right?
Right. Yeah. So a Class A, B, and C. So we had a Class C RV.
I miss it. It was a good one.
It was fantastic. I love that thing.
It just had a lot of little problems, like the air in the cab didn't work, and the little stair that would extract out stopped working. A lot of little annoying things.
We also, before that, we had a little pool camper that we could pull behind a truck. Anyways, so in 2017, we took our Class C RV to Bonnaroo. And we got parked beside a Skoolie RV. And it was the coolest thing we've ever seen. We pull up next to this thing, and it's blue, and it's got this giant yellow submarine painted on the side.
Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story.
And it's got this giant peace sign painted on the other side.
When we first got there, I saw it, and I was like, oh, man, I don't know if I want to camp next to these people. They're probably some wooks or old school hippies or something. I think that might have been my first thought. Yeah.
You thought it was going to be some wooks. What the heck?
But I was so wrong.
No, and then we get out, and it's this married couple, this older married couple that's like not quite our parents' age, maybe like a little younger than our parents. And Brooklin was actually the first people to talk to them. And Brooklin offered them, some lemon meringue pie or something.
Yeah.
And it's Tammy and Bob. And we find out that Tammy and Bob live like 5 minutes from the farm. And so we meet Tammy. And Tammy is like the nicest person we've ever met, like of all time. And Tammy is, I'm not lying when I say this, if I say there ever was a queen of Bonnaroo, it would be Miss Tammy.
Oh, yeah.
Tammy has been going to Bonnaroo ever since it was Ichiku, back in like 99.
So over 20 years now.
She went to the very first Ichiku back in 99. And so they've had the bus since like 2011-ish or something.
I don't even really know. It's been almost a decade.
Since like 2011-ish.
So like Bob told
2012?
Me. Yeah. Bob told me how the bus came to be.
Okay, well let me tell it.
Oh, you tell. Okay, go ahead.
So, the bus came to be. Bob was telling us about it. So, Bob actually, for a living, he like does something with junkyards or something.
Salvage
stuff, like salvage automobiles. And he got the bus from a salvage thing. And the bus actually used to be, get this.
Oh, I know this.
The Coffee County jail bus.
One of them.
The Coffee County jail bus. I still have the key. It's in the bus that says Sheriff Bus.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it says Sheriff Bus.
You know, there's still some little relics inside the bus that will be telltale signs about how it used to be.
The jail
like a high
bus?
security. Yeah, like there's some stuff that's behind the lockbox and such.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because so he bought it, and Bob and Tammy actually converted it to the Roo Bus, the real Roo Bus, and they took it to Bonnaroo every year. Well, we made friends with Bob and Tammy, and after we went home that year, I friended Tammy on Facebook. And after Bonnaroo was over, a few months after that, I saw where she was putting it up for sale. Apparently, they were retiring and moving down to the beach, moving down to Florida.
So I think they were just semi-retiring, like Bob is still working. I don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
We need to talk to them. He could tell the whole story.
Yeah. Anyways, they decided to put it up on eBay. And I was like, oh, okay, I just put me in a little bid.
Yeah.
And there was still like a whole day left, like 8 hours or something. And I didn't think much about it because I thought one of these like professional eBay people would come in. And you know how these like professional eBay people will come in at the last second and put in a bid or whatever. I really didn't think much about it. And it was a low bid.
So can I tell this part of the story?
Yeah.
That day was almost like destined to be because you and I went to Live on the Green in Nashville to go see Portugal the Man. They were playing a free show. And they're one of my favorites. Like, I love those guys to death. They're just weird and they like jam so much on stage and like blend one song into another. We found out literally 5 minutes before they took the stage that you had won the bus.
Yep.
And like, we were showing everybody in the crowd around us pictures of it. Like, oh my God, we're going to go buy the Bonnaroo bus. And they were like freaking out and high-fiving us and everything. And then right when that was going on, Portugal the Man came on. It was like destined to be. It was ridiculous.
So anyways, fast forward, I won the bus.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So we had to sell our Class C.
That was probably destined to be too because that thing was having a lot of problems like I talked about.
Yay. Okay. So we had to get the bus. We had to drive up to Manchester to get it. So the first thing we did was check to see if we needed to get a CDL to drive the bus, a commercial driver's license.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this depends on your state. In Alabama, you don't need one because we're not using it commercially. The second thing we did was need to get it registered. Well, I went to the courthouse to get it registered. It was a commercial vehicle, and that cost so much money.
Yeah, forget that.
That I didn't prepare for, because I got it registered as a commercial vehicle. Turns out, I actually should have got it registered as a motorhome. I didn't know that. The second year I went, and apparently I could have just went to the courthouse and told them it was a motorhome, and it cost about half the amount of money.
Yeah, so that's the deal with the Skoolie. None of them really are considered to be a commercial vehicle, right? It's like a party bus or it's like kind of like an RV type bus.
Well, the thing with the Skoolie, it totally varies by your state.
Oh, okay.
And if you decide to get a Skoolie, the number one tip that I'm going to give you is to join the group Skoolie Nation.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
On Facebook. That's where you're going to get the best tips and advice. It's SKOOLIE Nation. Skoolie, one word, Nation, second word, on Facebook. That's where you're going to get the most tips and advice because it's totally going to vary by your state. And I actually found someone in my state on that group, and she's like, oh, yeah, just go to the courthouse and tell them it's a RV or a motorhome.
Yeah.
And that's what I did the second year, and I had no problem.
I wish you did that the first year.
Yeah, for real, because I'll just be honest, I spent nearly $1,000 just on the registration itself. It was ridiculous. And I went back the second year, and I said, oh, it's a motorhome, and it was like $300 and something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. The next thing I did was try to get insurance on it. That was just like, getting insurance on a Skoolie is...
That might be the hardest part.
One of the hardest parts to do.
So one of our friends, Carrie from Kent Red Roo, she does the beer stuff. She had the same issue.
Yeah.
She lives near Chicago, and she got a short bus that she's converting. And she was talking back and forth with us because she was having the same problem.
Yeah.
She could not find an insurance company that would even return her calls, basically.
So I found my insurance through the Skoolie Nation group, and I gave her the exact same information. And I was like, oh, yeah, call this number, tell them this. And she actually called, and they said, oh, we don't write those policies anymore.
Yeah.
But if you get a Skoolie, use the words commercial for non-commercial use.
So don't use the word bus or Skoolie or anything like that.
Yes, or I've heard of people just flat out having to lie and say it's a motorhome.
I mean, it is.
RV. Yeah, because that's what it's titled as. Well, it's not really a lie because that's what it's titled as. So I've heard of people actually going that route as well. But getting insurance for it was just crazy because a lot of places don't want to insure it because a lot of the work on it is custom done.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of places don't want to insure it. So getting insurance was just crazy. But once I did get insurance, the insurance is not bad at all. Like, it's really, really super cheap, the policy that I have.
I think some companies realize that a lot of people are in our situation where it's just kind of like a weekend project and they're not driving it around a lot, so it's not that much of a liability.
Yeah, like the policy is not costly at all. Like, it's super cheap, but just actually getting it was just, I had to call so many different places. I mean, it was crazy. So if you want to get your own Skoolie, there's actually a lot of places that you can find school buses on. Finding a used school bus or an old school bus is actually pretty easy.
They're pretty cheap too.
Yeah, and they're actually pretty cheap too. I mean, all things considered. Govdeals.com, govdeals.com, actually has a lot of old school buses. It's like a government surplus site. eBay.com, you can find tons of old school buses on there. And even just Craigslist, just your local Craigslist has tons of old school buses.
One of the things I've heard about this is that school systems will only keep a school bus for a short amount of time.
Right.
So they're all the time selling them and are, in a lot of cases, even okay with taking a little bit of a loss on it.
Right. So finding an old school bus is really, really easy to do. So building out a school bus, now, Daniel and I did not build ours out. It was already done by Bob and Tammy. So we didn't, have to do any of the builds or anything like that.
Now, I've seen the pictures that Tammy has sent us from when they did do the build, and it's not complicated work, but it's still hard work. It's taking out all the rows of seats. It's, in some cases, not in the case of the Roo Bus, it's putting in insulation.
Right.
It's putting in the carpet and everything.
It really just depends on how complicated you want to get with it. Now, if you've been inside the Roo Bus, or even if you saw photos of it, you know that the Roo Bus is not, like, it doesn't have plumbing. It doesn't have a kitchen. It doesn't have a bathroom.
Yeah, we're not worried about any of that kind of stuff. Not the kind of stuff that would turn it into what would basically be an RV. Like, it's just a party bus.
Right, it's a party bus.
So we're going to take it to Bonnaroo or campgrounds or just something in the evenings around town, and that's it. Not overnight stuff when we would need all of those amenities.
Well, I mean, you could always get like a camp toilet or something if you wanted to take it somewhere. But you know what I'm saying. Now, Daniel and I did actually build out and refurbish an old pool camper. We actually used to own a 1963 Yellowstone, and we didn't completely refurbish it or remodel it or anything like that, but we did do some handiwork on it.
Yeah, some exterior paint, and
some upgrades to the interior of it. And I can tell you from working on that, doing some interior work and some painting and some builds on that, it's not that difficult to do building on these things. I mean, I'm not a builder. I'm not I don't do construction. I don't even like doing things around my house. I really don't. Daniel can tell you that. And it's really not that difficult. I mean,
no, I was very impressed with what you did with that thing.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, if you can put your mind to it, you can really, work on one of these things, especially if it's just like a weekend project for you and you just want to take your time with it and do it over time. You can really, do some neat work on these things.
That would be one of the biggest things that I would point out to any Bonnaroovian that's thinking of tackling a project like this. If you enjoy working with your hands and making things happen, like in a crafty way, then yeah, heck yeah, you'll enjoy doing this. So if you're one of the kind of people that love putting together totems or all these crazy costumes or candy, I would suspect that you would love a project like this.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest thing that you really have to factor in with a Skoolie is going to be the cost of maintenance on a Skoolie.
Oh, well, that could be a podcast of its own.
That could be a podcast of its own, especially if you get an older school bus. It is very difficult, or at least Daniel and I have found, it's very difficult to find a mechanic willing to work on a school bus.
Yeah, now I'll clarify. Getting new parts or getting the work done is not that big a deal. Finding the right person to do it is a big deal. And I can unfortunately tell you that from experience.
We had a window that broke last year.
Oh, gosh.
It's still broken. The bus has had some minor issues on and off. It's just finding the right person to be able to work on it.
Yeah, the problems aren't insurmountable. Like, I feel like the biggest thing that it has had to have replaced is a fuel pump, which is just a couple $100. That's not that big of a deal for like a giant vehicle like that. Finding the right person that can get it done right is kind of a big deal, though.
Right. A lot of mechanics don't want to work on a vehicle that big, or they don't have the base to work on a vehicle that big, or they don't have the tools or the parts to work on a vehicle that big. They don't want to take it on. So it's just finding the right mechanic.
Now, if you're in our area in North Alabama or Middle Tennessee, I'm going to give you a plug for a place that has been very good to us in the past couple of months. It's called Gowdy Fleet Service. It's near Ardmore, Alabama. They know their stuff, and the guy there is super professional, and apparently he's loved having a hippie bus at his place for a couple months now.
I would actually recommend that you find a mechanic before you buy a Skoolie.
Yeah, I agree. That's very good.
I would find and get in good with a mechanic before you actually buy a Skoolie. My dad actually used to be a diesel mechanic for Mack Trucks. Unfortunately, he lives like 2 hours away. So,
well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd love to look at it, though.
Now, when we first got the bus, a couple people messaged us and said, "Oh, you can't bring that to Bonnaroo because it says no buses on the Bonnaroo website."
I'm like, please.
No, that's actually talking about Prevost.
Like the tour bus.
Like the tour bus.
Hey, tell the quick story about the guy that had a Prevost.
Yes, I was thinking about telling that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, so that's talking about tour buses. There was a guy back in like 15 or something that posted on Reddit.
Before that.
He came in with his Prevost, which is a big tour bus. And they're like, oh, you need to come this way. You belong back here. And they rerouted him to behind the what stage.
They thought they were a band.
And he's like, oh, I'm behind the what stage. Oh my gosh, I'm behind the what stage. They parked me back here. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Now they have a thing on the Bonnaroo website that says you can't bring that in a general admission RV. Probably because of that, because the guys will think that you're an artist.
No, I think he eventually moved because he only had like a GA like wristband. So he's like, how am I gonna? He's like, well,
he wouldn't be able to leave.
He's like, how am I gonna get back here? How am I gonna get back to my RV? You know.
So going back, yes, you can totally have a bus, and they love having them there.
You can totally have a Skoolie.
In fact, some of our neighbors every year are Skoolies.
Yeah.
So if you go walking down the dirt road that separates general admission RV to regular camping, there's a bus that has a stage that folds out from the side of it. What's the name of that? I can't remember.
I don't know the name of that one, but I do know the name of the short bus.
The Eldon?
There's the Eldons.
Well, there's the Eldon, and then there's the ones from New York.
The Trippy Bus or Cool Bus?
The Cool Bus?
The
Cool Trip Bus. Cool Trip Bus.
Cool Bus Trip.
Yeah, Bus Trip.
That's
cool
them.
I love them. They are such great people.
Yeah.
And they're like extremely talented. Like,
oh, yes.
They did all the art on it. They have the huge base nectar sign on the back of it.
And there's also the cereal bus that actually gives out breakfast cereal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're cool too. That's just some of them that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's tons of like Skoolie buses.
We're by far not the only one.
Yeah, there's tons of Skoolie buses. That bus that folds down into a stage has been coming for years and years and years.
Way before us. I can't remember the name of that thing.
That's not a Skoolie though. That's like an
Airstream?
No, it's a tour bus. But it's like an old
I'll have to look up some
bus.
pictures.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's about it. If you have any questions about owning a Skoolie, just hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, we'll be glad to help you out. I promise you, in the 2 or 3 years that we've had this thing now, we've come across every possible scenario that you will come across if you're thinking about getting one of these, and we will be more than glad to help you out.
If you have any questions about RVing in general, you can actually hit me up personally, Sharla. My family has been in the RV business for a billion years. Yeah. Me and Daniel have owned like 4 different types of RVs.
3. We had the pull-behind trailer, the Class C, and now the Roo Bus.
I wasn't being literal.
Oh, okay. Okay, so as you guys heard, Brooklyn just showed up. She just wandered up in here while we were talking about some of the Skoolie stuff. I want to know how you've been doing. What have you been doing to pass the time and be entertained during all the quarantine stuff?
Well, I just took a shower.
Yeah?
I ran out of shampoo, so I had to put coconut oil in my hair. But, hey, shampoo's coming tomorrow, so that's good. I've been doing much of nothing. I've been sitting here, watching TV, playing video games, lots of Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing.
Playing with the dog, a lot of art.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing a lot of experimenting in watercolors. I painted Sharla a portrait for her birthday.
Yeah, Charlotte's birthday is next week, and you painted a really cool picture for her.
Yeah, I couldn't wait, so I gave it to her like the moment I finished. So tomorrow, I'm going to fly in my mom's friend's airplane.
Whoa, that's a way to do some really good social distancing.
We're just gonna be up in the sky for a couple of hours. We're just gonna fly around. I mean, there's not really a destination we can go to because everything's closed, so we're just gonna fly around. It's a like little 4-seater plane, so it's kind of fun. It's really nice being able to like get on your phone and have Snapchat available in an airplane.
Can you send me some pictures tomorrow?
I'll send you plenty. But yeah, other than that, I've been doing nothing. I'm just ready to start partying again.
I know, for real.
I've down a whole 4th of Jack Daniel's apple.
That stuff is good too.
Yes, it's so good. Charlotte kicked our asses in Monopoly.
Oh my god, I'm not playing with her anymore. She's a slumlord with Monopoly.
Lord, I mean that's the point in the game though. She knows. I picked up New Girl. Started watching that. I'm like.
That's the thing with, what's that actress's name? I can't remember.
Zooey Deschanel.
Zoe, yeah.
Yeah, I really like it.
You got us into watching Barry on HBO, which I've been enjoying, with Bill Hader.
My father.
We just watched an episode that I won't talk about in depth because I don't want to give any spoilers, but it was kind of in the middle of season 2, and it was like a Tarantino movie. I was so impressed with like the action and the pacing and like the long shots. And then at the very end of it, it was like directed by Bill Hader. And I'm like, what? My mind is blown.
Yeah, he did the whole show.
Yeah.
Like that whole show was his idea.
Yeah, but he directed that episode. That was like so action-packed. Now I want to see him direct like a Marvel movie or something. He would be so good.
He's so incredible.
Get him to Bonnaroo. Just have him hang out and talk.
Is it weird that I have like a strange crush on Bill Hader?
No, not at all.
Because like he's not that attractive, but I mean I love him. I love him to death.
You like strange, funny guys.
I like hitman guys, so like Barry is really cool. There's another movie that we watched the other night called Mr. Right, and the first time that I watched that movie, it's got Anna Kendrick and Sam Rockwell in it. And when I clicked on it, I thought it was going to be really stupid, but then oh my gosh, it was so good, and now I'm obsessed with Sam Rockwell because woo,
that was pretty good.
Completely not my type of men, I'm telling you. I like tall, dark, and handsome men, but those white boys, woo.
I enjoyed that movie too because it was shot on location in New Orleans, and we recognized some of the places that we had visited when we went down there a few years ago. I wonder why.
I don't remember a lot of I just remember that one shot where
that bridge.
Yeah, on that bridge.
Yeah, that's a story for another time. So that was your recommendation. It's called Mr. Right. What did we watch?
Mr. Right.
It was on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Charlotte, do you have a recommendation for everybody to watch while they're stuck in the house?
The Beach Bum.
Oh, tell us about that.
It's a Harmony Korine movie. It's Spring Breakers for older people.
So Matthew McConaughey is the beach bum, and I would not do it any justice by trying to describe anything that happened in that movie.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
We should watch both of those movies back to back.
Oh gosh, no, they're not similar, but they're both good. Where was The Beach Bum? Is it on Hulu?
Yeah, it's on Hulu.
Okay, yeah. So 2 recommendations. One from me real quick before we sign off. I have really been enjoying the hell out of this show called Devs. It's on Hulu and FX. It isn't something that I can really talk about without giving away any spoilers. Like, even if I told you the basic premise of this show, it would be spoiling it. But it has Nick Offerman, he was Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec, in a very different kind of role. He's almost like the dude from The Big Lebowski in this a little bit. But yeah, if you like anything techie or philosophical, you should totally watch it. I have been loving it, and the last episode is on this Friday.
So I have one more recommendation for a show.
Shoot.
If you have HBO, and a lot of people have been watching it, but if you haven't, I highly recommend Westworld.
Oh, yeah. Season
3 is on right now, and let me just tell you, it gets better by the season. It's incredible. It's not hard to pick up on. You just got to get through that first episode. You're going to be confused, and then, all of your answers get...
Answered?
Wait, yeah. All of your questions get answered, but then you're left with more questions, and it just keeps, oh, it's so good. And the music, what they do is they take, popular songs, and they convert it into, an old westerny, instrumental.
Like classical orchestra type
stuff.
Yes,
and, like I said in a previous podcast, when me and Chelsea went on our road trip, and we were, driving through the desert, we just listened to all of the Westworld
that's cool.
Playlist. Oh, my gosh. It makes you feel like you're actually in the Wild West, and it's such good stuff. They have what's that song called?
I don't know.
Oh man,
I've listened to that soundtrack with you though. I know what you're talking about. There was some old Rolling
Black
Stones.
Hole Sun.
Oh yeah, Soundgarden.
Black Hole Sun.
Yeah.
And piano, they have all kinds of versions of that song.
Piano.
But oh man, I'm nerding out right now because of how good that show is. You just gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
And the soundtrack's on Spotify too, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's 3 streaming recommendations from us for your quarantine home life while you're stuck in the house. So that was a lot this week. We ran a little over than we usually do, but that's okay. Everybody's stuck, so we'll have a lot to talk about. We'll get back to kind of our regular programming next week. We've got some fun interviews coming up. We're going to talk with the Radiate Positivity people. And I think we're even going to talk with the Jesus Tent people before long because they do really cool work, and I'm happy to talk with them.
I have a funny story about them.
Ooh, let's tell them when we talk with them. All right, but for this week, we've been talking about this. Don't actually get out, but still in the best ways that you can from your own home. Get out there and radiate positivity. We'll talk to you guys soon.